Yeah, we didn't get into the most remarkable stat. Obviously, we just got into the Texas win over Iowa State. The most remarkable stat from the game is the 9 yards rushing that the
Oh,
Texas defense held Iowa State to. 9 rushing yards total. That's one of the most dominant performances I've ever seen from a Texas defense. That played on some really good dominant defenses. That's incredible, and you did that on the road against Iowa State, a team that wants to run the football. They aren't a dominant running team by any stretch, but man, I don't give a damn if you're holding any team to single digits rushing. That is quite a feat. So you're talking about this. Probably this is the second best rush defense for Texas football in the last 15 years. This is the second best rush defense behind the 2009 rush defense. You hadn't had one at this good since then.
yeah. I mean, we talked about it after the Kansas State game. Kansas State came in as the best rushing team in the Big 12, and they throttled the run game, made them go pass. And in
Oh
this
man,
game, same thing. I mean, we all wondered aloud, well, why Gerard Hufford, the offensive guard for Iowa State, decided to poke the bear, decided to talk out and talk about Texas culture and
why
ego
Gerard? Why Gerard?
and Tavondre Sweat. Clearly, I mean, we'll hear it coming up. But Steve Sarkisian, made his captains for the game were Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. And Sark said that was very intentional, that he wanted those two guys to walk to the middle of the field and you kind of stare down the Iowa State sidelines and let them know what they were in for. And those two guys backed it up every bit of the way. For sure, the run defense, Jalen Ford was really good, but Tavondre Sweat is playing as good as any defensive player in the country right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go across the country. I don't know that you're going to find a defensive player that's playing more consistently and more consistently dominant, Rod.
No, you're not. I mean, he had that blocked extra point. He had a pass deflection. He was causing havoc the entire game. If you go back and watch him, he really was. And he gave, I believe that batted pass he had was against Jarrett Hufford.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken. And the blocked extra point was also against Jarrett Hufford. I have no idea why the young man did what he did. Why he came out and decided to talk trash to arguably Texas and the best D tackle room in the country and arguably the best D tackle in the country in Tavondre Sweat, but he did, and thank God he did. Good. If he did not, honestly, this team would have came out focused. Tavondre Sweat would have still done the same thing he did. But it was obvious. You go look at the comments the guys made, right? Jalen Ford, his comment after the game his quote is his tweet is going to be one heck of a farewell present. They are going to come in here on senior night in the dark. I don't think they really know what is going to be coming for them, end quote. He's quoting Jarrett Hufford. Xavier Worthy, yeah, we got an ego for show, and we got a culture and the talent to never be loud and wrong. And he added Jarrett Hufford on it. He actually tagged him,
yeah.
Yeah. Hope you had a good senior night, though.
That's a kind thing to say.
Yes, at least he was being courteous. Byron Murphy tweeted out 9 yards rushing with the curious emoji. Said ... That's all. Don't write no check. You can't cash, little guy.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
It obviously meant something to them to be disrespected like that. And the good news is Texas Tech has also given you very similar bulletin board material because they gave you stuff from way, way back in the offseason and after their win over Texas last year. So you got more bulletin board material. Not that they need it. They don't need extra motivation for this.
We'll re-rack it this week, and we'll hear Brett Yormark, and we'll hear Joey McGuire, and that'll be out there this week, headed up to Friday's game. And, it is good. The Longhorns have not locked up a spot in the Big 12 title game. They need, just handle your business. Keep playing focused football.
Yep.
And with that run defense, if they do make the Big 12 title game with a win Friday, they're still most likely, it's not secure yet, but most likely to play Oklahoma State. That would give you a lot of confidence in that game because the strength of Oklahoma State is the run game.
It is.
With Ollie Gordon, the great running back for Oklahoma State. So, Byron Murphy, you mentioned his tweet. His play on a big 3rd and 8 late in the game where he just bull rushed the center and sacked the quarterback, ripped him down like Godzilla, just grabbed him and yanked him down, ragdolled the quarterback. That set up that 4th and 17. And once they got off the field there, that game was just about running out the clock, and they did that. Defensive front was great. Now the secondary still has issues. We know that they gave up over 330 yards to Rocco Beck. They still struggle with inside breaking routes and coverages and things. But again, enjoy this team. They're 10-1 for the first time since 2009. They have a chance to win a Big 12 title in the game. And look, they're sitting in the mix with the big picture. They really are. Whether they are as good as Georgia or as good as some of the top teams look, you play yourself into those conversations, and right now with what's happening at Michigan. To me, big picture in college football, Rob, there's going to be a real conversation this week because Friday after our show was when the Athletic reported, and then there were multiple reports of really got to the bottom of why Michigan, accepted the suspension for Jim Harbaugh and decided not to go to court. New information from the NCAA delivered to Michigan saying, "Hey guys, you really don't want to fight this. We've kind of got you dead to rights here." And the information led to the firing of a linebackers coach. Also, the reporting of a booster, Uncle T, who was maybe funding Connor Stallions in the sign-stealing operation. Uncle T, and then a link to the coaching staff, and then the reason Michigan stated for firing the coach was, they said it was, not being transparent in the investigation.
It ain't looking good.
But the reports were that he was destroying evidence potentially, like, hard drives. Which, man, that is – now you're getting to – okay, guys, the cover-up's maybe worse than the crime. Whatever this sign-stealing scheme was, you start destroying evidence from a member of the coaching staff. That obviously is a direct link to Connor Stallions, which – ties it together with a booster. I mean, that becomes a major problem. And look, Rod, I really believe there will be a conversation, big picture, of do we give this team a spot in the Final Four? Now, if Ohio State beats them on Saturday, it won't matter because they'll be out. But even if they beat Ohio State and then beat Iowa in the Big 10 title game, there's going to be a conversation of do they belong?
Yeah.
With what's looming.
And there should be.
Should they give that spot to someone who's not involved in a scandal, because we all can see this coming, that they go on and win the national championship, but it may not count. Do you really want that historically? That conversation being had, and then you add to that, Rod, what happened with Florida State and their young quarterback, the 6th-year quarterback, Jordan Travis, just a horrible injury early in that game, one of those compound leg fractures, and just ugly. If you see it once, you never want to see it again kind of thing. So he is now out for the year. What a shame for a guy who was playing great football, but that obviously impacts Florida State. They play Florida this week in their rivalry game, and they'd have to play Louisville in the ACC championship game without their starting quarterback, and that's going to lead the committee to, if they go undefeated, they'll likely get in, but you're trying to get the best 4 teams.
Yep.
And is Florida State still one of the best 4 teams without their starting quarterback? So again, those are 2 teams that may be tenuous at this point. And obviously Michigan and Ohio State are going to play this week, so somebody's going to lose that game. So, yeah, there's still a lot to play for, Rod. I mean, Big 12 championship and a possible, slide into a spot. You still got Washington and Oregon playing in the Pac-12 championship game down the road. They both have rivalry games coming. So still a lot of college football left. Longhorns in a really good spot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a path now to the college football playoff, and the Longhorn players can see the path.
Yeah.
You just laid it out there very clearly, and I'm sure the players are discussing it too. I remember talking about the BCS path, right? When I was a player. We were a team that was, a double-digit win team late in the season, and we were looking to play for a national title. So it's one of those things where the players now, because they put in the work, they've been able to execute, they've been able to win and be clutch in critical moments. Now they actually have a chance to accomplish all their goals. Like all their goals now, even though they took the loss, everybody's going to lose a game here or there. It's hard to go undefeated. And, hopefully the teams in front of them don't, so we don't have to worry about this. But there are multiple paths now to the college football playoff for Texas, whether it be Florida State and their quarterback situation and them taking a loss, whether that be, like you said, Ohio State, Michigan still have to play each other, Michigan with their scandal. Either way, the Longhorns are, right now to me, I think they're in control of their own fate largely. I haven't looked at the odds, but there's a really good chance that chaos will happen in front of them. That they'll, as long as they take care of business, that at one point that the path will be clear, but they have to win out. That's clear. They take another loss and they're done. Anybody taking a loss this late, it's gonna hurt you. Like you're probably gonna be out of it. It's a rare circumstance to take a loss this late and then still be able to advance. Consider this like the quarterfinals. Like right, you're in. This is basically essentially the playoff. We're in it right now. These last 2 weeks, you'll have this week, the last game of the season for everybody, and then you'll have the championship games for everybody. Essentially, this kind of works out like a playoff. You're in it now. You're just in the first round of it.
Yeah, this is the
first round.
Yeah, Texas Tech becomes a playoff game.
It's the first round of it. Then you'll get to the quarterfinals, and then hopefully you can get to the semis.
Well, and for folks, getting a lot of, messages and tweets and stuff, or X's, whatever they're called, about the tiebreaker scenarios that people want to know. Well, look, essentially for the Big 12, and here's the spot they're in, and people are talking about, are they making this up as they go? Look, if Texas were to lose and Oklahoma State, and K-State were to win, there'd be a four-way tie for two spots. So that becomes the challenge, right? You're trying to, how do you decipher four different teams for two different spots? Because, no one is just all the way in. So you're trying to, they don't have a four-way tiebreaker scenario. They have a three-way tiebreaker scenario.
Multiple team tie.
This is a multiple team tie, so you don't have to separate them, and it becomes a real challenge. So Texas needs to avoid that because if Texas loses, there is a chance, that Oklahoma and Oklahoma State could gobble up those spots, and that would be virtue of Texas's loss to Oak Stack and walk you through it. But it's a long scenario because I think in the four-way tie scenario, Rod, I'm pretty sure K-State is eliminated for the most part because they lost to Texas and they lost to Oklahoma State this year.
Yep.
So they would be kind of out. But Texas, because then it comes down to like common opponent, and then it becomes down to the record versus. Essentially, if it's Oklahoma State, and Texas is going to be out of that if they're all 7-2. K-State doesn't really have a look at this right now. They need a lot to happen for them. But if those three teams, the two Oklahoma schools in Texas, are sitting at 7-2, it's not good for Texas because of the loss to Oklahoma. And Oklahoma State's win over Oklahoma, essentially, is what it would come down to. The final tiebreaker, when you go down the list, the Longhorn loss to the Sooners and the Oklahoma State win over the Sooners would become the trump card. So, we can walk you through it, but it makes your head spin and you're dizzy and your head hurts when that's over. But either way, beat Texas Tech is a 14.5-point favorite on your home field on a Friday night.
That's what matters.
And that you're in. And as you said, you're still alive for the bigger picture as well. And, likely going to play, Oklahoma State for the Big 12 championship, which is high times, right? Longhorns haven't been here since 2018, and even then they weren't playing for the big picture things in college football. It's been since 2009, and I know coming up in Behind the Burnt Orange Curtain, we'll hear from Steve Sarkisian. I know you'll talk about Sark and how he was one of the key to the win and his game plan in that game, and this is a high water mark for Sark too, Rod. His first 10-win season as a head coach, and we talked when the season began. Could this team hit their ceiling? Right? Could they? They looked on paper like the most talented Texas team since 2008 or 2009, and could they achieve that? And this is where you give this staff and this team credit. They still are flawed. They still have some issues in their safety position and secondary, but at the same time, they're really good in a lot of places. It's hard to win 10 games, Rod. It's hard to win double-digit games in college football, and the Longhorns have achieved that, and now they can finish it off.